So if you remember, like it was a while ago we did testing, and when we were doing testing, we were actually thinking about automation testing. So we have seen automation testing, advantages of automation testing. What is that? We will learn Selenium as generically, not IDE, not RC, not WebDriver or anything. Okay. So generally, let's look at the automation. What were the first type of applications? How many types of applications we have learned? Early type of applications. Monolithic, 2-tier, 3-tier, n-tier, but generally in n-tier, what type of applications we are using currently? Web applications. Before monolithic, there are other type of applications too. What are those? Standalone applications. Okay, web applications. Then now we are in mobile applications, and you are talking about cloud applications. Cloud means, how do you access your cloud? Through web or mobile only. Finally the interface is web or mobile only. Even today when they call about cloud or something else, you have to use web or mobile only. So generally, and see, we also know about batch processing applications, some other applications, right? You know, backend FTP, these kind of other applications, shell scripts and other things too. Now, automation tools. Why do we need to do automation? To save time, reduce the test cycle time. Agree? And increase the regression testing, increase the regression testing, increase the coverage, do more number of test cases in less hours, and have best practices. Repetition will be easier. So this is the reason why we do automation. Okay, everyone knows that. But there are some times we should not do automation. Can anyone tell me? When requirements change frequently, when we don't have time at all to do automation, when this product will not be used in future, this will not change in future, there is no point of regression in future, that is when we don't have to do. Automation depends on different types. For example, like, how many phases of testing are there? How many phases of testing? What are those? No. How many phases of testing? Start with the bottom. Unit testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing. Okay. Performance testing and all part of a system only. Okay. Unit testing, people have to write a program to test a program. Can you automate that? Can a program come and write its own unit test? No. But we can have programs and tools to run those unit tests. Agreed? So generally we will be learning about them in very soon. JUnit, TestNG and all this TestNG, NUnit and all other tools, we will use that later. Integration testing. Integration. For example, like let's say we want to know, for example, like we want to integrate a web service into our bank or something to know that you are a hacker or you are a normal user. Okay. So we are integrating a web service into our application. So when we are integrating that web service, should we test web service? Should we test web service? What are the automation tools we use for web service testing? SOAP UI, any other tool? JMeter you can use for web services testing. Any other tool? Itcolisa. Okay, Itcolisa, there is one more tool recently I saw, I forgot about that. Okay, alright. So actually it is Parasoft, SOA test. Parasoft, SOA test. Okay, SOA test. Okay. So these are the tools for testing web services and other things. Okay. Now, for example, let's say the developer did not expose the integration or anything in API or something. Think like they gave you a jar file. Remember JDBC, yesterday we wanted to talk to MySQL database. What did you do? We wanted to write a program to talk to MySQL database. Did we write the program to talk to MySQL database? or did we download the program which is already there to talk to MySQL database? So what is that? Is that an API to talk to MySQL database? So they are APIs too. So what are APIs mean? I need to talk to MySQL database. So what did I do? I downloaded that jar file. So I will talk to that jar. Jar will talk to MySQL. Why did they give me jar? Why didn't they give me .java files? Because they don't want to expose their code. They only want to expose their behavior and everything. That is the reason they gave me jar. They didn't give me. So these jars are also APIs. So when you are saying API testing, when you are talking about API testing, that can be a SOAP API, that can be a REST API, that can be an XML API, that can be a Java API. I can expose it at the Java layer, I can expose you at the XML layer, I can expose you at the SOAP layer, I can expose you at the REST layer. So what is API testing mean? Testing anything which is exposed to us, that is web service or that is jar file. Understood? What is API testing now? Because why it is called API? We are interfacing into another program using this API. Application programming interface. My program is interfacing into another program. This is the how I need to talk to other person. I am interfacing into another program to connect to my application using this program. That is why it is called API. Will it do anything by itself? Is the web service doing everything? Or someone else is doing something? For example, currency converter, is the web service converting me or there is a program which does currency conversion? Program, but this web service is nothing but exposing me. This is the one I talk to, that is the guy, so I don't know who is behind it. I need not know who is there behind it, .NET or Java or any other program. So that is called API testing. What is system testing? Anything other than integrations or units is nothing but systems. What does system contain? What is the first one? Functionality. Other things? Performance, security and all other things. What is the 80% of the time customers use what? Look at what? Functionality. And they look the functionality through interface of the application. When I am talking about the interface, am I talking about APIs? This is user interface, that is program interface. See, API is a program to program face, right? It is acting as a face to one program from another program. Our browsers and everything are nothing but interfaces to program to humans. That is why they are called user interfaces. So user interface, so 80% of the functionality will be accessed by user interface. So if it goes wrong, everything will go wrong. Facebook is not working on look, but it is working somewhere else. Why do I need it? I don't care. Agree? I need to see Facebook working, right, on the website or the mobile phone. So UI is the most important. So there is also performance and some other thing. Can we automate performance? How did we automate performance testing? JMeter, or you can use load runner. Okay, actually, yeah, and I will talk about QTP sometime very soon, actually. Yeah. So then there is JMeter and any other tool for performance testing? Load runner. This is performance testing. Okay. Performance testing. User interface. Coming to functionality testing will be done from user interfaces. SOAP UI is for performance testing for API, not for user interface. So user interfaces, we do the functionality testing from user interfaces, the look and everything, you know. So can we automate usability? Not completely, but there are some things we can automate, like finding broken links or something we can automate, but that is still considered as functionality. 80% of the functionality is exposed through user interface. Okay, so when you are exposing 80% of the functionality through user interface, you need to make sure you are testing it right. And this is what you will be regressing a lot. This is what regress means. You have to do repetition again and again, making sure nothing is broken. Functionality testing depends on the UI. Functionality testing depends on the functional automation depends on UI. There used to be at a time, a famous tool called Windrunner. It is very good for testing desktop applications. Very good tool for testing desktop applications. But are there any desktop applications now? And then there came a QTP. And desktop application means everyone uses what operating system? Windows. So then during Windrunner actually they used to have this language TCL, I believe, transaction control language. I don't know if you worked on it. Okay, transaction control language that is more like C. Actually they should have kept it with a Windrunner only. They had a partnership with Microsoft after that and they made only everything specific to Microsoft because they thought that all the machines are used Windows only. Okay, all the machines are Windows and everything is Internet Explorer otherwise. But at that time Internet Explorer was very popular. So QTP partnership with Microsoft actually purchased a technology called test object model. They purchased a technology called test object model that is from Microsoft. It is not Mercury concept. So they purchased that and built QTP means they replaced Windrunner with QTP because it was more friendly and it was scripting language. So that is the reason. So it used VB script as programming for scripting language for it. So that is the automation tool. But what happened, even many people, so it can do for, it can actually, then later they came up with the HP service test for web services and they enhanced the HP into HP functional testing suite and they have many other things too. They can do web application testing, desktop application testing, web service testing, many other tools too. Okay. But one of the biggest problem lies with QTP is it does not see web as web. It does not see web as web. That is the fundamental flaw in its design. Okay. So let's not talk about it more. But later actually, now what happened, there is web and mobile are the major forms of consumer application. See, no one is using, I don't really care what my teller is using. I really don't care what my teller is using. I only care what my consumer is using because functionality will be used mostly by the consumers, right? So most of the consumer applications are web and mobile. Most of the consumer applications are web and mobile. So that is where everything is there. Okay. So later there were many other tools too. So recently, like there was a movement in Bay Area, everything about open source. Actually, open source movement was there from at the end of 1990s actually, and Linux was one of the popular one which was part of it. What is Linux? It's an operating system. It's a free operating system. Right? What is MySQL? It's a database. It's a free database. Agreed? And let's say PHP. It's a PHP, there are some other programming languages and Apache servers, right? They are free. So people started building up free databases, free operating systems, free web servers and other things, free app servers and everything. So actually Bay Area was moving towards a lot about open source. So at that time there are many other tools too. So nothing is great, nothing is less here. So everything has its own advantages. Selenium came. So Selenium is a open source web automation API. Okay, it's a web automation API. So it became popular and it took over everything in web application automation. So it is free. Open source means it is free. Okay. When something comes for free, there is a catch around it. Understood, right? If something comes for free, there is always a catch around it. Okay. So let's see. Okay, there is nothing like absolutely free. Okay, you have to program a lot. In other words, you have to program a lot. So companies move towards about open source. Nowadays, people are moving towards open source a lot. Even like outside Bay Area too, there are many people actually, Boston and many other places too. But still, some financial organizations and other things, they don't rely on open source. They want paid tools and everything. They still use QTP and other tools, but Selenium has become a. So sometimes what these tools happen is like, for example, let's say when you take about QTP, when they are testing desktop applications, there are other tools like Test Complete, Silk Test and other things too. But why is only QTP become popular? Because it is most used. So it set a standard that everyone has to accept it. Similarly, in open source like Silk, there are Saki and there is water, and there are so many other tools too. there is Cucumber, and there are other tools too. But Selenium set a standard, so everyone talks about Selenium. It's not like that Selenium is the only open source automation testing tool available. There are many other tools too, but Selenium is just like most used. It is like a set a stand. Yes, whatever I told are open source. Okay, all right. So they have, for example, Microsoft has coded UI. If you have Microsoft .NET framework, you get the coded UI also. Okay, I don't think that is open source, but these are some of them. Okay, so when we are learning Selenium, don't think that you should only use Selenium tomorrow. You might use something else, Selenium might go, something else might come. It's not that. The architecture and style of automation tools changed. That is open source, using object-oriented programming. Before they used to use scripting languages for automation. Now they are using object-oriented compiled languages, fully incorporate. Because remember in XP there are some technologies: test-driven development, continuous integration, build integration of automation, build integration. So these things actually, because of agile, people needed tools which can integrate with other tools. Selenium is an API, it can integrate anywhere. That is the reason it became very popular. Everything changed with JUnit, unit testing integration. Anything which can go into unit testing is it will be really used by many people. So that is the reason Selenium became popular. Okay. So it is a small API. It is not nothing much. It is not a tool. It is an API according to me. But people will say it's a tool. Okay. Alright. So let's go into Selenium. So, but when you are learning Selenium today, tomorrow you might be coding on water. Tomorrow you might be coding on Cucumber. You need to learn that API. But to code, what you need? Java. So that is the reason we are spending most of the time on Java, not on Selenium. We are not here to learn Selenium. Say it again. All the tools are Java. For example, tomorrow somewhere you will go and they will say that, we are Microsoft shop. I know that you only know Java, but we will still hire you. Will you code in C#? Can you code in C#? Yes, it's public class, same. Public static void main. Everything is same. Right? But the only thing, there are small differences. Is concepts more important or the language? Are you like someone like 10 years in Java, you don't want to move to C#? No, right? You're starting. Any programming language is same for you. Okay? But object-oriented programming language. Okay? I know that you are being experienced in Java, but you are not a Java developer. You are experienced in object-oriented programming. Similarly, these tools will change. Selenium, what will be Selenium after 5 years? I don't know. It is already WebDriver now. Tomorrow it will be something else. Agree? This tool will change. But the object-oriented programming you are learning will not change. And that implementing the automation. So when we try to do with Selenium, we will try to learn how to do automation. We will try to learn how to build frameworks. This is generic. This is not for one tool. We will use Selenium and Java as a base. But that is only as an example. But we will learn deeper into Selenium also. Why? Because we need to crack entries. Alright. Okay. So Selenium is only for web automation. Selenium is only for web automation. So can it do mobile automation? No, then what about mobile automation? Why don't we learn about mobile automation? See, mobile automation didn't become popular yet. Web applications are there from long time, but Selenium became popular recently only, like maybe 5 years back or 5 years back actually. Okay, but web is there from long time. Okay, desktop applications are there from long time, but QTP became popular maybe 12 years back or 10 years back. Before that, it was Windrunner actually. Okay, so mobile testing tools nothing became a standard because we have many operating systems. And these operating systems are continuously changing, evolving. Agreed? But if you go for Android, there are some tools like, they are not standard. There are some tools like Robotium is a tool for Android automation. Okay. And generally people still use its own tools like SDK. What is SDK mean? Software Development Kit. What is JDK mean? Java development kit. Just like that, Android will give its own SDK to tools to build applications. It will also include tools to test applications also. So Android SDK and iPhone SDK, Android SDK and iPhone SDK will have tools to test those applications. So you can read the SDK and do that. You don't have to go outside buy tools. But sometimes Robotium is very popular. There are some other tools which can do both kind of testing, like Eggplant. Eggplant can do both iOS and Android testing. Okay. So it depends on which mobile phones you are supporting and everything. So generally I would say you don't go for one specific tool for mobile. Keep it generic and tell that I know the SDK. And tell mostly Android. Why? We are Java based. Great. We are Java based. Alright. So let's look at the history. Selenium was created in 2004 by Jason Huggins, and it is Selenium core. So he created in a company called ThoughtWorks. ThoughtWorks is a agile based company. It created many other tools too, like there was a continuous integration tool they created. Okay, and there was Selenium IDE was created by someone else. It is a Firefox plugin, and later Selenium RC was created by these two people. And then actually in 2006 Simon Stewart created WebDriver, and what happened is like Selenium combined hands with WebDriver and became Selenium 2. So we have 3 things or 4 things here in Selenium. Okay, so Selenium is not like a one tool. There is Selenium core inside it. First let's say Selenium 1. In Selenium 1 there is Selenium core inside it. Selenium core inside it. Okay, core inside it. Then there is Selenium RC, actually IDE, which uses core. Then there is Selenium RC. Then there is Selenium grid in the first Selenium 1. In Selenium 2, everything is WebDriver. Okay, and there is WebDriver backed Selenium. Okay, and there is a new grid which is coming. There is a grid also coming in Selenium 2. Okay, these are the components. Alright. So this is very, very unorganized because many people work on it. It's open source, right? Many people work on it. People keep on developing things. Okay. Alright. So that is what. So Selenium 1 is generally, when people talk about Selenium 1, they meant RC. Actually there is Selenium IDE for 2 also. Okay. So Selenium IDE is there for 1 and 2, but when the people talk about Selenium 1, it means Selenium RC. When people talk about Selenium 2, it means WebDriver. Okay, Selenium 1 is Selenium RC, Selenium 2 is, but IDE is there for 2 of this. Okay. Now for example, think like I have a QTP. Okay, I have a QTP. So did anyone see an automation tool before or learned about an automation tool before? Okay, anyone else? Okay, I know. Alright. For example, let's talk about QTP. Generally what happens in QTP or some other thing is, you go and start, you say record actually. When you go to the generally any automation tool, when I say automation tool, automation testing tool, agreed, I am not talking about other automation tools. So automation tool, generally there will be a record button. When you go and click the record button, what happens? It opens the website or application, and you go and do something on the web application and you stop recording. It will save the script. Then when you run this again, whatever I did before it runs, it is nothing but record, and these tools are called generally record and playback. Okay. Now, what it is recording, how it is recording, you tell me. Now let's say QTP. Okay. You can go through a QTP recording actually if you want, in Whitebox page there are QTP recordings too. You can click the record button and it will open the website, and you can go into the Whitebox page, click on the login button, enter the login, sign in and stop recording. Then you come and play back, it will go to Whitebox QA, it will click on the login button, it will enter the login information and stop. How is it doing it? Don't tell me what we should do with QTP. Tell me how QTP does it. What will it cache? So it will, for example, I typed whiteboxqa.com, it will remember whiteboxqa.com, that it has to go to whiteboxqa.com. So it will put it in the script, invoke dot, what is that? System util or install util dot run or something, and it will say that Internet Explorer browser with this one. Okay. Alright. So let's say it is opening white box QA, but how does it know that it has to click the login button? How does it know that I have to click the login button? I clicked the login button, but for example, when it is second time it is clicking, because I know even I can see that it is a login button, I clicked it. Agreed? How it is recording? That tell me that. What it is recording? For example, there is a login, register and contact. How does it know? It still has to click login button only, not the register button. All the three buttons look same. Because I clicked the login button. Because I clicked login button. So is it asking me, QTP is asking me what did you click before? No. It is, what does it store in the memory? What is it storing in the memory? So how does it know that I clicked this only? So it will look the mouse event. So it will find, like, let's say one way is to, in this pixels, 1024 pixels, I clicked that, 324 by 729. Okay. But what if I change the screen resolution to this one? Will it not click then? If it is, using the name of the, where is the name of this button? Who created the name of this button? There is a HTML element. This is the HTML element. It might have a name or anything. Okay, let's go and look at the inspect element. There is no name here. There is no name here. There is no name here. So it will store the ID, so it can use it next. Very good. Excellent. That is what. Yes. So the first thing is, first of all, so it knows that it has to click login button with ID equal to login. Very good. Then how will it click? So you know where to click, but how is QTP doing the clicking? How is QTP doing this clicking? Tell me that. How is QTP doing this clicking? QTP is another program. This browser is another program. How can it come onto this browser and click this? Using which script? What tools we are using? What tools? Tell me that. What is the tool or what is the scripting language? JavaScript. But you are telling that QTP records everything in VB script. Then how can it do that? VB script is also, so Google Chrome will understand VB script. So when QTP says that run this VB script, it will run this VB script. Google Chrome will not understand VB script. It will convert that VB script into JavaScript for other browsers. But for Internet Explorer, it doesn't need to convert. Why? Because Internet Explorer will understand VB script. So you understood, right? All the browsers understand only one language. What is that? JavaScript. Agree? If you are not JavaScript, you are not understood. So that is the reason QTP cannot run with many browsers. Okay. So you need a language. So finally automation means, browser automation means, what is running on browser? So I don't care what you recorded, how you recorded, but finally when you are running on the browser, what do you need to give me? JavaScript. So you need to tell me JavaScript, and you need to tell me where to click and everything. Okay. But sometimes QTP is very smart that it doesn't care. This window is an object on Windows. It does not think that it is a browser or anything. For example, I opened a calculator or something. What is the difference? This is a window on Microsoft, this is a window on Microsoft. Maybe it will try to find this login button by using window properties. In this window properties, this is Microsoft is showing finally this button, right? Okay, using that, or it can use the resolution, or it can use the other things to, it can actually sometimes, remember there are three types of identification. Smart identification in QTP. It will use the actual resolution and everything too. Sometimes it may do bitmaps too. It will compare the bitmaps, what you recorded, what you do that too. But that is not a wise thing to do. Okay. So there are other types too. Okay. So generally you need JavaScript plus HTML for web automation. Okay, web automation. So this guy wrote Selenium core. What is Selenium core? Is nothing but a JavaScript program. JavaScript program. In this JavaScript program, you will have methods like click, and if you give like name of button, like for example, click, and let's say string name. So if you give a name login, it will click login. It will click login, right? Right. So this Selenium core is written in JavaScript. So Selenium core is nothing but a JavaScript API. It is completely written in JavaScript. So that is what first build is Selenium is. Selenium core is nothing but JavaScript API. So Selenium core is nothing but a API of JavaScript commands and everything. So if I want to do automation with any browser, I need to load this core onto that browser. I will put this JavaScript API on that browser and I can use Selenium there. I don't need Selenium IDE, I don't need Selenium RC. But do you know how to write programs in JavaScript? Do you know how to install an API and all these things? Will you do that? No, because we don't want to work with JavaScript. Why? JavaScript is very hectic, very clumsy language actually. Okay, so you can't really do much of that. That is the reason nowadays jQuery and other APIs are coming up, because they are hiding the JavaScript for us. Okay, the real JavaScript for us. So no problem. So coming back, Selenium core is a JavaScript API. As long as this JavaScript is there, you can automate on anywhere. This JavaScript API contains like click, type. So what are the things you can do on a browser? Tell me. Open URL, mouse over. Okay, don't tell me about mouse events, other hard events. Tell me other events. Click, drag and drop. Anything else? Select, check, uncheck. Anything else? Type. Drop down is select. That is also select. Will you delete anything on the browser? No? Anything else? But you are still typing. Your duty is to typing. That is server's duty to do auto completion. Agreed? Okay. So these are the generally operations we do. Clear? Yes, clear. Scroll or move down. Say it again. Click I already wrote. Okay. These are the methods you can do on Selenium or Selenium core. So as long as the core is there, at that time Firefox is becoming very popular. Firefox is a browser which is very popular, like before Google Chrome. Okay. So Firefox introduced something. Can anyone tell me what is the thing Firefox introduced? No. Plugins, add-ons. You can add things onto your browser, right? Which was not there on Internet Explorer. So someone created a plugin for Selenium and they said that the core is internally inside this tool. What is the tool called? Selenium IDE. So what is Selenium IDE? Selenium IDE is nothing but Selenium core plus Firefox plugin. You are providing core as a part of Firefox plugin. Okay, so they can do, so this is more like Selenium IDE is like a mini or minute QTP. This is like a mini or minute QTP. Okay, so everyone, Selenium IDE is nothing but Firefox plugin. So will it work on Google Chrome? Will it work on Internet Explorer? No. So we need to have Firefox browser. Everyone should have Firefox browser. If you have machines, you can open them too. Okay. So you should have a Firefox browser, and then let's say Selenium IDE download. Okay. Go for the first one and let's say latest and click on this one. It will ask you to allow, means you are installing. Okay, and install this on the browser and it will ask you to restart the machine or the browser? Firefox browser. It will restart the Firefox browser. Small QTP. Means it looks like. That is the term I gave. Okay. Alright. Okay, so Firefox browser, if you have Firefox browser, you can install Selenium IDE. How will you install Selenium IDE? In Google search. Okay, Selenium IDE download, and you will go and click on the link of that Selenium IDE, and then it will pop up something and it will install and it will. So once you download an plugin, where is the plugin? Where is the plugin? You have to go to the tools and you will find, oh, there is a Selenium IDE. Let's open Selenium IDE. Oh, okay. So you see a Selenium IDE here. What is the version of Selenium IDE we are using? 2.4.2. Okay, 2.4.2. Alright. Now coming back. Okay. Alright, so let's look at this one. So if you see this IDE, it looks like, there is a file, edit, actions, options, and there is a base URL, and how do you want to run, fast and slow. There are test cases, there is a table and source. Forget about that. Which application we want to test now? Google.com. Okay. Google.com. So this is the application. So you want to record. So if you, by default this is recording, means if you want to record you can press again, but generally by default it is record mode. So if you want to stop recording, this is stop recording, this is start recording. So then what will you do? You put this google.com base URL and let's say we will go to google.com. Okay, alright. We went to google.com. So, and I will type, let's say, Selenium testing. Okay, alright. So what did you get here? Open, then type Selenium testing. Okay. So now for example, I will stop recording. You don't have to stop. If I run this again, what will happen? It will do the again. It will do this again. Alright. So this is like a record and playback tool. It is not really the Selenium. It is just a record and playback tool only. So Selenium does not mean this itself. Okay. Alright. This is nothing but just a practice. And after 1 month or anything, you will never look into this tool at all. Because you use RC or WebDriver. Nobody uses, we don't need it. I will tell you why. Okay. But after this class, not in this class. Okay. Alright. So this is the purpose of this one. Record and playback and everything. Okay, this is good. So now let's see what is this one. Here, Selenium IDE is a plugin for Firefox only. And you have a URL to test and you are testing this one. So now let's go and see what is about the Selenium. Alright, okay. So, yeah. Selenium IDE, generally when you install this plugin IDE, you are installing Selenium core on this browser. Okay. But the thing is, how do you call the core? So first you have to record something. So when I go and click the record, so this is the base URL. Base URL means look for whatever the windows I opened with this URL only. Whatever I do only on Google you should record. If I do something on Whitebox you should not record because I am not interested in that. What am I interested in? Google. So that is the base URL. Okay. You cannot do more in Selenium 1. You cannot do multiple web applications testing in one test. You can do only one application at a time. So can I do Google plus Whitebox QA plus something else? No, either Google, either Whitebox QA or something else. So that is the base URL. You cannot deviate from this domain at all. You cannot go out of this domain. So remember that. Selenium 1. Single AUT, okay, per test. Alright, okay. So now then there is, if you want to run, for example, so this is a record, and you have this record button, and if you want to run it fast, you can run fast. If you want to run it slow, you can run slowly. Agree? If you want to run slowly, you can have, for example, let's say this is Google test case. We will rename these properties and we will say this is Google test case. Google test, and similarly we can create one more test case. Let's say this one is white box QA test case. Let's say this is white box QA test case. Okay, this is white box QA test, and what is that? Per test you can't do. Per test you can't do. Okay. Let's say this is something else. Test 3. Okay. Alright. So now, if you, for example, if I select white box QA and if I run this, it will run only current test. Collection of test cases is called test suite. So when I run this button, it will run all the tests. You understood, right? When I run this, it will be all the tests. Okay. So let's go to the Google one again. So this is test case and this is collection of. So when I run this button, it will run the entire test suite. So when I am running this, for example, I can stop, pause it in between two. At one step I can pause and then go forward. For let's say we will go here and we'll click this one. Okay. Actually we will record more. Let's go and do here. Okay. So I will put this one here, record, and then come down and click next button. Okay, and come down and click next button. Okay, so you saw that, right? Next will be there. For example, I want to run this again. It will go to, let's do it slowly, very slowly, and let's say I want to, why can't I pass? Because it failed. Okay, because it can't see. Okay, it can't see that click. That is the reason we should not use Google. Let's try. Okay, we will run it again. See, I can pause. I can then go forward. I can then go forward. Then go forward. Okay, then go forward. Understood, right? I am in the third page actually. Start equal to 20. Do you see that? I am in the third page. If you come down, you can see it. I am in the third page. What is this? 20? Start. First page has 10, second page has 20, third page has that starting with 20. So start location is 20. If I want to start with 120 means, which page I am in? 13th page. Okay, you understood, right? That is Google's way to remember things. Okay, so is this post or get? Get. This is all get. Do you see that? Alright. Okay, so that you can pause, you can do but one by one debugging and everything. So now coming back, let's look at this one. Now I will ask you, when I run this, how it is opening google.com? How it is opening google.com? Again, let's start with the first one. How it is opening google.com? Tell me. Because it's calling which API? JavaScript. Is there any JavaScript API which can open, click, and do something? What is that? Selenium core. Each step has a command. Do you see that? Open, type, and everything. Those are what commands? Selenese commands. What are Selenese commands mean? Selenese commands are nothing but JavaScript functions. Selenese commands are nothing but JavaScript functions in Selenium core. Understood, right? JavaScript functions in Selenium core. So each step is calling a Selenium command. Each step is calling what? A Selenium command. This open means it is calling Selenium command. That is the one really opening. But what to open? I am giving it. This is the base URL. Means just open the base URL. Then type. Where to type? That is target. And what to type? This is the value. So in every Selenium step there will be three things. In every Selenium step there will be three things. What is that? Command, target and value. Value. Command means the Selenium command I am calling. Target means on which HTML element you should run this. For example, I want you to type, but where to type? There is username box, password box. I will tell you to type in the username box. How am I telling that you should type in username box? By specifying the ID, name or anything, HTML. So everything is a HTML, right? Everything is a HTML. For example, now I am telling that click a button next, but there are so many buttons on this Google page. If you go to this Google page, there are so many buttons, right? This is a 1 is a button, 2 is a button, 3 is a button, previous is a button. But I am telling that click on the next button. How did I tell that it should click on next button? Tell me. By using the ID of that element. So by using the, let's P next, do you see this PN next? By using the ID of that element, I am asking it to. So what to do? Where to do? Sometimes what to type? If you are telling it to type, you have to give what to type, right? That is called value. But if I am clicking a button, you have to tell what to click or just click. Just click. So that is the reason. Sometimes value is not mandatory. Value is not mandatory. See, value is only there for type. Agreed? When you click, you don't have to give value. So click does not have, but target is mostly important. But for open, you don't need a target because it's already opened google.com. So that is what. So finally, this ID is calling whom? Selenium core. Selenium core functions we are executing from IDE. Agreed? So Selenium ID is nothing but using the Selenium core. Okay. Every step will contain what? Command, target and value. Command, target and value. Now for example, when you are running this one, for example, I don't know what this command does. For example, let's say I want to create a new step here. I want to create a new step here. Let's go and choose the commands from all these commands. So how many commands are there in Selenium? These many. Okay, but all of them are not very useful except because these assets are not useful for you, verifies are not very useful and wait. But generally if you see, for example, type is there, type and wait is there, type keys is there. For example, let's say select is there. Do you see this? And let's say open is there, open window is there. Okay, close window, close is there. Got it? So these many methods are, you can go and you can give the command, target, you can give the target and you can give the value. So for example, when you click on a particular command, for example, let's go, I want to create a new step. Let's say I want to know about type. It is telling me reference. Type means locator and value. If you give the arguments, where to type and what to type. Okay. For example, let's say I don't know about wait. You will find about wait for alert. Wait for alert and give me the pattern. The pattern is nothing but using the JavaScript, we will wait for this alert. Okay. Alert using the JavaScript. It is waiting for a pop-up. Let's say wait for page to load. Okay. Wait for page to load. Something will be there. Wait for page. Do you see this? Wait for page to load. Page to load. Let's see. You have to give the timeout. How many milliseconds we have to wait for that. So everything is a command. You can learn all the commands. Okay. So Selenium functionality is nothing but Selenium commands. If you know the commands, you can use Selenium. Okay. So but now coming back. So you can give the references and other things to UI element and roll up. You don't need it. It's okay. I used to teach in the before classes, but you don't need. When you are running, you want to know the log, right? So you know executing open, executing type, executing this one. Green. When you get a green bar, what does that mean? It's fast. When you get a red bar means? Yes, very good. You know testing. Alright? Yeah. So what do you expect? What you should get? Green. Fail so that you can create a new bug. But it should not be a bug in your program. You understood, right? Fail can happen for two reasons. Either there is a bug in the program or bug in your test. Okay? Alright. Okay? Alright. Always look for green. Okay? That is Selenium ID. We keep on recording n number of test cases, that's why we should not record. In other words. Okay? Yes, that's why no one uses Selenium ID. Now first of all, now go and say that. Now let's go and say, there is a table view. Do you see this table view? There is table view and there is a source view. In QTP, everyone will have two views, right? Keyword view and any other view, anyone, can anyone tell me? There will be two views in QTP. Keyword view and, I want to know, anyone who knows QTP. Expert view, yes, expert view. Yes, but here we are not experts, so that is why we are simple programmers, so that is why we have source. When you look at the source, if you look at the source, what is there inside the source? What is the language here? HTML, but it's XHTML. In other words, it's HTML only, it's XHTML. Now every step is what? Every step is a, what is TR tag stands for? Table row. Every step is a row. So what is the scripting language used in Selenium? Then why did we learn Java? Agreed? Why did we learn Java? When it was HTML, plain HTML, everyone knows HTML. This is only for IDE. Okay? Now tell me, the scripting language is HTML. Okay, is HTML. What is the use of this one? Now what is the purpose of Selenium ID? For example, now let's say, tell me the disadvantages of Selenium ID now. Advantages of Selenium IDE. Say it again. You cannot run other than for the Firefox only. Next. Firefox only. We can only use. It's only record and playback, nothing else. Record and playback. I cannot change anything, right? I cannot change the data. Every time I have to change and I have to run, it's more like manual testing. No scripting at all. Can we do scripting in HTML? Like can we write a if block or anything? No logic, no scripting. Okay? No logic. Sir? You cannot use files or data driven or anything. That is what you are talking about, right? Data driven, no data driven, nothing. What is data driven? You can use the same function to run for multiple data, but nothing is there, right? You cannot integrate to other tools. You cannot integrate. You cannot write logic. So what is the purpose of this? Then why? What is there with Selenium ID? So that is why there is nothing in Selenium ID. But I am not talking there is nothing in Selenium. I am only talking about IDE. Okay, what is the purpose then? That is why generally what they do is like, they will come here and they will say, you record. You will say file, save as, save test case as or export test case as. You can save this file as a .html file, it will save it as a .html file. For example, my suite. But still it is HTML. What is the purpose of this one? Nothing, right? So that is the reason people don't use this HTML. People will export test case as. And when you say export test case as, what it is showing? Convert it into language, like which language? C#, Java, Python, Ruby, you can do PHP, you can do Perl, you can do whatever, what not language. But you can't do VBScript, you can't do scripting languages. They generally doesn't support scripting language, but it will support. What is the language we learned? C#, right? Okay, Java. Or let's say you'll be learning JUnit and TestNG, but let's say Java JUnit 4 and like this. So if you say my Selenium program, what will be the extension for a Java program? .java. Okay. If you open this one, you will see what? Java class. And you will see what? Inside that selenium.open, selenium.click, selenium.this one. So what does this mean? First of all, core was there in the browser. And my program is also there on the browser. Agree? Here, where is the core? In the browser. Where is my program? Core is generic for everyone, right? It is not for only for my white box QA testing. It is for everyone. Core is in the browser. How do you know the core is in the browser? Because I installed this plugin. This plugin automatically is the plugin sitting in Firefox. So core is sitting on the Firefox. Where is my program? My program is now visible in the IDE. My program is also this one. So we are running on the browser only. Why not take this program and core and put it in somewhere remote, and we will control remotely from there? Agree? Understood, right? We will take this core and we will take our program and put it there. Where we will put? What is the language we know? Java. We will go and put it somewhere in Java. When you run Java, do you need Java runtime engine or Selenium core? To run Java programs, what do you need? JRE. So we will ask this Java program to put the open Google Chrome browser and put the core there. Now I will automate with you. Can I do that? Understood, right? So when you take it to remote control, what is that called? Selenium RC. Understood, right? What is Selenium RC? Take the core and the program remotely. Then what is the point of IDE? Just to play and practice. Done. Yeah, you can export, but you will still change it. Sometimes it's not useful. Okay, sometimes it is useful, sometimes it is not useful. So finally, where we will write our Selenium programs? In Java. And where we will run it from? From Java. Agree? That is what. So we take the core and the program along with us into Java. That is Selenium RC. But anyway, we are not going to do Java today. We will not go deeper into that, but I will talk about other things. RC means remote control. Well, first we will see RC, then we will talk about WebDriver later. Then what is the problem with RC, then why WebDriver came. We need to know the problems. You have any question? Okay, alright. It is only telling what I am telling. So it is only doing what I am telling it. It can't think beyond that. What is the use of it? No, it won't. Whatever you record, it will play back. Sometimes it won't. It gave me errors because the recording was bad. The recorder is very bad inside this. In Selenium ID, the recorder is not very good. It gave me /span, right? But it should not use span because it should click a link, a tag only. It doesn't need, that is why it is not very powerful tool. You cannot rely on Selenium ID that it will give the right steps. What is that mean? Properly tagged, that is what? HTML is not properly tagged means it's a developer mistake. Ask your developer to tag it properly. So for example, if there is no ID, it will not work. Right? If the ID keeps on changing every time, it will not work. Okay, we'll talk about that. Yes, he can only do record and playback. Sometimes that record will not play back too. That is what happened. Generally in Selenium ID, no one does testing, but if you have to save HTML files, you have to save on your physical drive. Any Java files, right? Now when you export it to Java file, where will you put your Java files? Where will you put Java files? I agree, but you need some editor or something, right? Eclipse. But for example, developers daily write many programs and many programs. What if my machine crashes today? I'll lose all the programs. You make a copy and put it somewhere else. You keep on backing up. What if the backup crashes? I'll put it on cloud. That is why every program, see, for example, let's say what is that which makes Walmart? What is the products of Walmart? Means the inventory is the products. What is the inventory of a software company? The code. We need to save our code. Where do we save our code? There are tools called source control tools. There are tools called source control tools. Why do you need source control? Because if I am working on this class, you are working on this class, how do we know that? We need to merge or something. That is why source control tools are used. What are some of the source control tools? SVN, JIT, VSS, Visual Source Safe, TFS, CVS. These are called source control tools. If developer is putting his Java code into source control tool, why not we? Are we not writing Java? Are we not Java programmers? So where we will put our code? Source control. That will manage everything. We'll get the latest, we will check in, check out. Okay? We'll come. Eclipse. How do you connect it with the test case? Why do you are coding the test case in there? But data driven. Data driven. You run it from an Excel or somewhere. I will come there. When we really do automation, you will ask that question. Okay. Alright, source control tools. Okay, not source tools, source control tools. Okay. Alright, so let's not go too deeper into code today. Okay, because we thought of not discussing about code today. But Selenium ID only works on Firefox. But Selenium works on all the major browsers. It will work on Internet Explorer, it will work on Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera, everything. Okay, all the browsers too. Okay. And what are the languages it supports? Many. Java, C#, PHP, Perl, Python, Ruby. Agreed? So these are the languages. It is open source, it's free. So Selenium means which one you are? I am talking about everything. When I say Selenium, Selenium means everything. I am not talking about Selenium ID. Okay, that contains RC, that contains everything. So Selenium is free. Selenium supports many languages. Agreed? And Selenium also gives you ID so that you can record and playback. Agreed? And Selenium is open source and corporate backing. Okay, big companies like Google and other companies support this. Okay, alright. So we know about ID. Okay. Free means all the major companies support open source tools. For example, Java is widely supported by many companies because they like, people support Java. Similarly, one is like Selenium. Agreed? Many companies support Selenium. Many companies here uses Selenium, even including Google, Yahoo, everything, eBay, Apple, okay, Kaiser, okay. Now even I think in future Bank of West. So sooner or later, so everyone will come there, okay. But not Selenium, everyone will come to open source tools sooner or later. Yeah. Who is that? She is working on SOAP UI. Okay, but here we are not talking about people, we are talking about subject here. Okay, alright. So Selenium 1 is all about Selenium core. Selenium version 1 is all about Selenium core. In Selenium core, we have so many methods. These methods are called Selenium commands. So what are some of these methods? These methods are called, let's say for example, open. It will open a URL. Okay? Open and wait. It will open and wait for that many milliseconds you tell. Milliseconds. Okay? That many milliseconds you will tell it to wait. Okay? For example, like let's say wait for page to load means it will wait for the page to load. Okay? Let's say click, it will click whatever you want to click. Agree? So these are some of the Selenium methods. In Selenium, you will have two types of methods, assert methods and also verify methods. Verify methods. What is the difference between an assert method and a verify method? I will repeat this again in unit testing, but you tell me now. What is the difference between an assert method and a verify method? One proceeds after verification, the other one. For example, let's say assert true. Okay. Assert true. Selenium. Okay. Selenium dot get title of the page is WBQA. So what does this mean? What does this mean? Actually, get 1 second. I didn't write it right. Okay, what does this mean? So get the title of the page, current page, and make sure it is equal to WBQA. If it is not equal, the test will fail. Then what if it is verified true? It will give false and it will move forward. Okay, so let's say now do for example now Selenium dot click login ID equal to login or something. Okay, ID equal to login. Before it will never move to the second step in asset. Now it will move to the second step, but it will still say this one is false. It will say false, but it will move forward. Before it fails there itself. Asset is a strong verification. Verification is a mild assertion. Understood, right? Asset is strong. Okay. Do I have to know all these methods? Not all these methods, it's okay. Alright. Now, coming back. So we will learn on two more concepts today. So let's see what are those two concepts. How did Selenium, for example, let's go. We will go to google.com again. Okay, we'll go to google.com again. How did it knows it has to type here? How did it know it has to type here? How did it know it has to type here? Let's go and look. So that is the reason. Everyone should have a tool called Firebug. Why do we need a Firebug tool? Let's go here. Why do we need a Firebug tool? You can right click on this element and you can say inspect element with Firebug. Automatically it will show this element. What is the idea of this element? What is the idea of this element? GBQ. Yes, that is what. So you can tell in Selenium type on this ID equal to. Okay. So these are called locating patterns. What are these called? Locating patterns. Means Selenium is using this pattern to identify the element or the target where it should do this command. Understood, right? Selenium is using this pattern to identify the element to perform the command, to do the click or type or something to perform the command. That is called locating pattern. How many patterns are there? What are there? First thing is, if there is an ID, it will look for ID equal to. Okay. First thing is you have to say ID. So does this have an ID? Does this element have an ID? Yes. So if there is an ID, Selenium will say, for example, you want to say type. For example, let's say if this step is not there, you can write your own this step by yourself. I will say type command and I want you to type on ID equal to, what is that? GBQFQ. GBQFQ. Okay, and what is the value you want to type? Selenium. Okay, alright. Oh, it was there down. Okay, I didn't see. Alright. So you can give that. You understood, right? So you can give that ID equal to, maybe you don't need to give codes, it's okay. Okay. So I'm using ID. But what if there is no ID? Now let's go and search for this one. So let's say search for this Selenium. Okay. Search for this Selenium. Okay. Now let's say I want to click on this, let's say I want to click on this link 1. Let's go and see. View, okay, not view page source. What should I do? Always right click, inspect element with firebug. So I should always use this one. Okay, so there is nothing here. So let's go to white box QA for a second. Okay, let's go to white box QA. Now for example, let's say I will go to login page also. I want to identify this element with firebug. Okay, is there any ID for this element? Type equal to text, but there are how many elements which are there with type equal to text? 2. Then what should I use? Name. Generally you should have name. So generally you will use name equal to. So at this time I will say selenium dot type. So generally either I will use ID, okay, or name. So generally how will I use ID? Selenium dot type, and I will say, okay, ID equal to, alright, and generally I will say selenium dot type name is equal to, okay, name is equal to, agreed. So I will use ID name like this. Okay, next thing, sometimes there are two problems with using IDs and names. For example, let's go here, let's go to google.com again, google.com again, come again and type for selenium. Okay, selenium, and now what will you see? Let's say I want to click on this next button, or let's say this number 10. Okay, inspect element with firebug. Do you see any ID or name for this? Do you see any ID or name for this? Do you see any ID or name for this? No. Then how will you identify this element? What is URL? With the value, what is that? Where is that value 10? That is a link, means value is 10, but what if there are more? Let's say that is a link with 10, but how do I know that, how do I give that in Selenium? Selenium doesn't support value by giving value directly. For example, if a paragraph has a paragraph, you will write the paragraph in that. Here it is only 10. What if there is a login or some other big names? What will you do? So you can use class or something like that. So generally when there is no ID or name, how, for example, this is an element, this is a HTML. How do you find elements in HTML? XPath. Yes, XPath. I have to use XPath. One technology is called XPath. So next, what is, for example, sometimes XPath may not be something. Is there any other way to find HTML elements? Is there any other way to find HTML elements? CSS selectors. Remember, we use CSS selectors to style them. Remember, style this one and everything. So next thing is CSS selectors. And other way is also, there is a DOM too. You can use document object model. What is DOM? I will talk about that later. And you can use link text also. And you can use regular expression or other things too. Okay, regular expressions too. Okay. Alright, let's go and see all of this again. Okay, why should we use XPath? There are two ways. Why these are called static elements. Static elements means they don't change. They don't change. Their ID will be same. But if you go to some websites, let's say I will go for, let's say, Microsoft registration. Okay, registration or something. Okay. For example, let's look at this one. Okay, not this one. Let's say sometimes when you go for pages, like for not white box K, but some pages, if I now for example, let's say thing like that is a registration page. Okay, registration page, register.php. Okay, think like when I came first time, it will be one ID. When I open the site again second time, it will be different ID. Why? The IDs will keep on changing. Why? Because developer is not writing the IDs. Some other program is writing the IDs. Okay. So that is, they are called dynamic elements. They are called dynamic elements. So when if the ID is keep on changing, can you use the ID in the program? It will work one time, it will not work another time. Or sometimes there are no IDs. At that time you have to go for XPath and CSS selectors. If there are IDs and names, you have to go for IDs and names. So for static elements, go for IDs and names. For dynamic elements, go for XPath and CSS. There are other types too, DOM, link text and other things. So let's look at one by one. Now let's go to Google Maps or something, maps.google.com. Okay, google.com. Okay, get directions. Now I want to find this element. Before that, everyone should have Firebug and also Firepath. So install Firepath. So Firepath plugin. Okay, Firepath plugin. Install the plugin. You know how to install browser plugins, right? It's not difficult. Okay. Firepath also? Oh, you did XPath and CSS class, right? Oh, I forgot about that. Okay. Alright. Now, I want to find the XPath for this inspect element with Firebug. Okay. Alright. Now read this one. There is ID d_d and read this one. Inspect element with fire, d_da_ddr. That will be unique. So let's not go for there. Let's go for this one. It has ID, but think like there is no ID for this one. How will you use? You can use XPath. You know how to use XPath, right? You didn't practice, but you can, for example, like let's say, I can get a element, let's say, for example, I want all the links. All the links are selected. Okay. Now actually, what is this button? This is button. I want all the buttons. Let's say I want all the buttons. Okay. I got all the buttons. How many? There is only one button. Just to use that button, you'll get it. There is only one button. Got it? One button tag. Or if you still want to be careful and everything, class is equal to GD, GB, Q, F, B. Okay. Did I select that button? I can use that. This is XPath. For example, you want to use class names. CSS selectors. Dot. This is not class. Okay. Let's find it out. That is maybe. This is, what is the class of this one? See, there is a class called KD button submit. Okay. KD button submit. Come on. Okay. And I have to use class here. CSS dot KD button submit. You see, I got that. Yeah, you can select CSS or HTML. You can say CSS or select, you can say CSS. For example, in CSS, if you want to do relationships, like I want to find this div and there is a button inside it. You understood, right? Come on. Browsers are taking so much of memory nowadays. Firebug. Firepath will also come under Firebug only. Yeah. Okay, for example. What Firebug is, so how we can use Firebug? Let's say Firebug is not only for this one, there are many other things too. Okay, sub cn tn, inside that there is a kd. Oh, I don't know. Okay, first of all I get this one. Yeah, I got this. Inside that I have find an element button. Yeah, inside that there is a button. So button inside this. Give me the button inside this. Got it. So it's relationships in CSS. So you can write CSS and everything. Okay. So most used in Selenium are ID name or XPath CSS. Or XPath CSS. But why should I use Firebug for only for this one? For example, now I want to know, see I want to know, for example, go to this net tab and clear this one, clear this one. Am I sending an HTTP request to server? No? Yes? Let's see if I am doing this one, zooming out, how many HTTP requests I sent? How did you know about this? Are these all Ajax? Did the page refresh? No. Everything. How many Ajax requests went? How many get operations went? And what are the status codes? How much time it took? How much kilobytes transferred? Did you get information? Is Firebug useful? Agreed? You understood, right? How many get operations? Do you want to see the header information of that HTTP header? Go and look the headers. What are the headers contain? You have date, you have content type, you have X Firefox, X contain, do you see this? This is the Firefox header. What is the response? This is the image, you got the image response. Did you cache it? Are there any cookies enabled? Okay, disable cookies. Cookies, let's go and see cookies. What are the cookies used? How many cookies are used by this site? These are the cookies used by this site. Okay. Now let's say, is there any JavaScript running? Okay, now let's say debug JavaScript. I want to say put a breakpoint on this JavaScript. Okay, now I will say refresh this page. It will stop there and I can say run. It will run the execute. I can debug JavaScript. For example, now let's say I want to change, for example, let's do styles for this one. Let's do inspect element with Firebug. Okay. And if you see what is the computed style for this one? Hold on, what happened? Okay, it is debugging. So what I should do is continue, run this, run this, run this, run this, run this, run this. Or otherwise I have to do how do you breakpoints, delete the breakpoint. Okay, now run it. Okay, it ran. So JavaScript ran. I stopped the page in loading. Did you see that? I debugged JavaScript. You can know what is happening behind. And for example, let's go to the CSS. Let's go and see what is the style for this. Okay, let's go and see the style for this. What is the style for this? This is the computed style. Why it is called computed style? Because it is cascading from many places. Let's go and say change this to color, let's say background color. Let's go and change the background color of this. You can change it and it will reflect it here. Yes, whatever the page you wanted to do. Well, it is only loaded on the client. It came to the client. It is not doing on the server. Java Firebug is a client-side debugging tool. You can debug a request and response, JavaScript, CSS, finding locators, whatnot. This itself is a powerful software according to me. It's only for Firefox. Yes, there is a Firebug for Google Chrome also, inspect element with Firebug Lite, but I don't like it. Firebug is very popular on Firefox only. Nowadays Internet Explorer also came up with something. If you click F12, everything will come like this. Okay. Internet Explorer, you have to click F12. Okay. So you understood the power of Firebug? Alright. You are not a Selenium tester if you are not using Firebug. Why? Locators. Do I need Selenium ID anymore? I need Java, I need Firebug. That is what I want. I get what to type. Selenium.type. Okay. For example, I will go to this my program. Let's say in this program. Let's say Selenium.select. What to select? Let me go to Firebug. Can I get it? And okay, ID equal to this one. Understood, right? You got it, right? That is how you will be writing your Selenium program. What is the point of Selenium ID? Only to start your career. Understand Selenium. Other than that, nothing else. So how many types of locators are there in Selenium? ID, name, XPath, CSS. There is also something called DOM. People don't use. Generally, DOM means, remember, JavaScript uses DOM technology. For example, you can say DOM by ID or something, document dot find element. You can give the DOM type there. Okay, generally how you will give it is, I will give you an example, but generally most people don't use. Okay, yeah, but DOM comes handy when nothing works. Do you see DOM equal to document dot, you have to write a JavaScript function that using the document syntax there. Document dot get element by ID or some other or forms of 0 and then input of 2, something like that. You have to give like that, but many people don't use that. It is not recommended to. Okay, now there are some other type also. You can tell that for links you can type by link text. Means what was there in number 10 before in the inside link 10, by give only for links you can give the value. You can select by the value. For example, let's say go to whitebox QA. So let's close Google Chrome. Okay, let's go to whitebox QA. For example, is this a link or a button or an input tag? Let's find it out. That is what? Read here. It looks like button. It is a link actually. What made it look like a button? CSS. You see in the CSS somewhere it says that it look like a button. This is the image, background image. Show it like this. Do you see the background image there? Do you see the background image? That is what making it look like a button. But it is not a button. It is a link. That is style sheet. That is the style we attached. Okay. So if you see here, if you want to find this link in Selenium, there is one way. For links you can do Selenium dot, let's say, click, and you can say link is equal to, and you can give login. Means what is inside this? Login. Do you see this? So you can find by the value inside it. Only for links. Sometimes if there is nothing coming handy, you can use the regular expressions also. Let's say for example, you can use a regular expression too. Okay. So now tell me how many types of locating patterns are there? Name, ID, CSS, XPath, link, DOM, regular expression. Okay, regular expressions. Alright. Okay. Actually there are 9 in Selenium. There is also globing pattern and exact pattern. Okay. You don't need that. Okay. But because the reason is they are not in WebDriver. They are only in Selenium RC. And nowadays no one is using Selenium RC. Yes, if you tell the 7, it is more than sufficient. If you still want something old one, where you have to go? Complete recordings. Agreed? Yes. Okay. That is Firebug. And so in Selenium, commands are divided into 3 types of commands. So this is the last topic I will be discussing today. 3 types of commands. First ones are called actions. Second ones are called accessors. Third ones are called assertions. For example, when I say Selenium dot type, what am I doing? But what is the action I am doing? Typing. When I am doing Selenium dot click, what am I doing? Clicking. So you are performing an action. Opening, clicking, typing, selecting, checking, unchecking, and all these are called performing actions. So these commands are called action commands. Okay. Then there is, for example, Selenium dot get title. Am I giving it or am I asking it or am I asking it? Give me. I want to get it from the page. Before I gave it to the page, I did on the page. Now give me, I want to take from the page. For example, Selenium dot get value from using some element. I want to get a value from the tag, p tag or something. Selenium dot, let's say get head, get body of HTML body, HTML and everything. So when you say get, you are accessing from the page, that is called accessors. Okay, that is called accessors. The third thing, verify this page title equal to this one, assert this page is this one, that is called assertions. You are checking, you are doing the real testing in assertions and verifications. You are doing stuff in actions, you are getting stuff in accessors. So there are three types of commands. Which are more important? Actions. First you need to do action, otherwise you don't get assertion. Assertions are there, but minimum, like you will use 1 or 2 assertions per page. So those are the commands. Assertion, checking, assert title. If it is not, the title is not the what I am expecting, what will happen? The program will fail. That is assertions. Verify, actions, accessors are getting title, reading body, something, getting some other thing. Those are. Checking like, is this element present? Wait is an action. You are asking it to wait. Right? Wait is an action. Accessor. Accessor, we get something from the page into the program. Get title, get body, get something, or all getting. Okay.